Hello, my name is Andrew Remillard, and this is my channel, and thank you for joining me today. I've been asked by many people to give some lessons on how to play a hymn and how to improve your hymn playing. So this is going to be the first of a number of short videos addressing that very point. And I treat my hymns as character pieces, much like Schumann's, Grieg's, and others, short little vignettes, all of a character, all of a single expression quality. Granted, the hymns tend to be considerably shorter than these other character pieces, but of the same nature. So throughout these series of videos, we're going to be looking at different aspects of hymn playing. And the first hymn we'll look at is the Tallis Canon, by Thomas Tallis. It's usually associated with the hymn, "All Praise to Thee, My God, This Night." And coincidentally, I'm recording this late one evening, so we'll see how it goes. And in this particular hymn, we're going to look at phrasing, and in particular, how the pickup note that's part of this hymn affects that. So this is how it starts. Now, in order to feel like a phrase, we have to balance the importance of the pickup note with the downbeat, and then what happens on the second beat. And that second beat really is the one that makes or breaks the whole phrase. The definition of an accent that I use with my students is an accent, since it's a miniature diminuendo sign. Think of the second note, the note that comes after the accent, as having to be softer than the accented note. Otherwise, all you're doing is shouting. So, listen to that first opening of that phrase a couple different ways. Now here's another way. The second way allows us to hear da-dum. That second note is our downbeat. Otherwise, we'll leave it very vague because we haven't shown metrically where the important beats are, and it is the first downbeat of the phrase. So, now this piece is built with a total of 4 phrases. And you've heard the first one, so I'll start there again. And how we move from one phrase to the next is very important because this piece is being sung by humans who are singing. So we have to give them a chance to catch their breath and a chance to complete an idea of the text before we move on to the next one. So as we come to the end of the first phrase, ends on a high note, the highest note of the piece so far. But we have to take a breath before we go on to the next note. So as a performer or a player of hymns, we need to take that breath so the singer also has time. And as I tell the kids, especially the younger ones, the teenagers in particular, they're notorious for playing through the ends of their phrases, just rushing right through. A good musician allows the phrase to end. And even in this case, where the end of the first phrase is really kind of a halfway point through the phrase, we have to have the sense that that has come to a comma there, or there's some kind of punctuation there. Okay, so we come to the end of our second phrase. A much more complete, but we still need a breath. And we still need, as we go on to the third phrase, the pickup note strong, the downbeat strong, beat 2 unaccent, weaker. So we have the sense, da-dum, we still feel the 1. And that end of that half phrase is much more complete than what we had the chord at the end of the first half phrase, and now we are here. Essentially, we made a perfect authentic cadence, which is not complete though, so we move on. So it's almost, we're going to surprise the listener that we thought we heard the end. So you can bring into that last phrase with a little more energy, and maybe not giving as much time as you would have on between the first and second phrases. So we get this. Okay, one other thought on phrasing. As you go through, this particular edition has 5 different verses for this hymn. And I've heard people where they big dramatic ritardandos at the end of every phrase, or at the end of every stanza, which really tends to drag the thing down. But musically, we have to show that we've come to an end of something. But maybe not as big. Again, breath, maybe a little longer breath before we go back to the beginning. So we have... And then when we come to the very final phrase, make sure that each beat is just a little bit more elongated than the preceding beat. So it's a very, very gradual slowing down. And depending on the hymn, some hymns end very strongly, crescendo right to the end. This particular one, I mean, we're talking about the night, it's going to come down, and the melody even brings that down. Has a descending second at the end, and we've got a perfect authentic cadence. I think it calls for a softening for the last note. Now, another way we can show our phrasing is by relaxing the tempo ever so slightly when we get to our phrase points. I'm not really saying retard, but to just back off the tempo a little bit so you're not pushing. When you're singing with a large group, that's not necessarily feasible, but if you're accompanying yourself or a small ensemble, you can certainly do that much more easily than you could if you're accompanying a congregation. If you're accompanying a congregation, you may not be able to do that, but you most certainly must give them a chance to breathe with each phrase. So, if you've got any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and thank you very much.